I'll call this regular meeting of Grand Forks City Council to order. And the first item of business is, in addition to the agenda, we need to go into in-camera on the 25th of March at 9 o'clock. And so we're going to put this on the agenda for a motion at the end of the agenda under new business. And so can I have a motion to adopt the agenda as modified? Councillor O'Doherty, Councillor Smith, all those in favor?
No.
Second item of business is 2 sets of minutes from March 4th. Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, a motion to adopt. Councillor Smith, Councillor O'Doherty, all those in favor? And March 4th, regular meeting minutes, Councillor Kendel, seconded by Councillor Wyers. Let's get everybody on the record here. All those in favor? Okay. No unfinished business. We're down to councillor reports, and I'll start with volunteers. Patrick, or Councillor O'Doherty.
Your Worship, I attended last week the open house for the version of the downtown, and there was a lot of people here, so it was well done. And I want to thank the staff for doing it. And Your Worship, there's a hockey tournament, a big hockey tournament in Grand Forks for the next rest of this week. And I invite everybody to come and see the young kids play hockey. They play good hockey.
Yes.
And we've got something else here. There'll be no GFI baseball for this year. So we'll see what the future will bring. And we're going to start working with L and the administrator, L Wright and the administrator on the parts for the softball, which is going to start pretty soon after school break.
Okay.
And that's about, I'll clean the parts and get them all ready.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor Wyers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll begin my report with the, on March the 4th, after our council meeting, I did attend the Regional District of Kootenay Boundaries Area D Town Hall meeting over at the Senior Citizens Hall, just in time to catch the excitement of the new animal control bylaw, which is receiving a lot of attention, and I know it's been circulating through our ranks as well. So I understand there is a follow-up stakeholders meeting or people of interest for tomorrow, March the 19th, at the Senior Citizens Hall at 7 p.m. So hopefully we'll all be out there to look at the ways and opportunities that we can positively work with this new bylaw that the Regional District is proposing. On March the 5th, I attended the Boundary Economic Development Committee's tourism meeting, or not tourism meeting, their regional meeting. They do have a new tourism marketing this year with the new desk pads that are going to be distributed, both topographical and directional. And on March the 6th, I attended the Grand Forks and District Library AGM. So the new board is in place by acclamation, and I did include those, the new members on the board, the new trustees, in my last council report. Scroll down. March the 9th, the Boundary Woodworkers Guild held a Take Care of the Boundary Bats Day at their Donaldson Avenue facility. It was a full house of volunteers cutting, assembling, nailing, and painting 10 brand new bat houses to be set up around the area. Now, the Boundary Woodworkers Guild joined forces with the Boundary Habitat Stewards and the City of Grand Forks, and they're increasing the awareness around bats and to provide summer houses for our local bats. Thank you, Les. It was just a switch, wasn't it? Yeah. Well, I knew I had it on.
Turn your volume down. No, you got it.
I didn't touch it.
Somebody's calling me up high. It's right there.
Okay. His worship is playing with this button. As you sneak away, he's playing with this button. So once again, taking care of the boundary value.
We shut that up?
Yeah.
My apologies to the folks at home.
So the City of Grand Forks, together with TELUS donated poles, and through the Environment Committee, it was brought to the table there, and the recommendation is going forward this spring to install these 10 bathhouses. And Councillor Smith will probably give a better update in his report. On March the 12th, I attended the city's open house to view and provide feedback on minor improvements to our downtown core. And once again, I was happy to see an excellent turnout and the excitement around the proposed rejuvenization of our downtown core. And on March the 23rd, this Saturday, be prepared for Earth Hour from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. We're asking all the citizens in Grand Forks and the City of Grand Forks, wherever possible, that we can turn off our light switches for 1 hour to be counted in the Earth Hour energy saving. Now, Fortis BC also have a program out, and unfortunately, it came out after we did our newsletter. So I'm just asking you to check with the Fortis BC, and your Regional Chamber of Commerce has circulated the opportunity to participate and be registered online for earthhour.org or with fortisbc.ca. And that's the end of my report, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Kendel.
Thank you, Your Worship. On March 5th, I attended the BEDC monthly meeting. Discussion was had, and a way was accepted to streamline the flow of information relating to regional initiatives brought up at the City Economic Development Committee to be presented to the Boundary Economic Development Committee for their thoughts and possible participation. On March 12th, I attended the monthly meeting of the Boundary Museum Society, discussions about their opening dates, annual general meeting, accessing funds for their new storage building, as well as interest in them becoming involved or revitalizing or becoming a part of, again, the Welcome Wagon service was talked about. I, along with many other members of council, attended the open house at City Hall regarding the downtown revitalization plans and city branding initiative. I think overall response was very positive and bodes well for going forward in a positive way in the future. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Mine's pretty short. I was pretty tied up with the production of Manny Get Your Gun, which was quite successful. And on the 12th, I attended the open house here. And with the bats, Jenny and I, along with our Mgr of Operations and our CAO, will scout out some locations for those to be erected. And that's about it.
I compliment you on your report from the conference.
Thank you. It was a great conference, and I really appreciate having the opportunity to go.
Right. Okay, I have a couple of items. The Responsible Dog Owners Meeting, which is tomorrow night. We've had a number of submissions that individuals have gotten from citizens, and there is a draft that is out there that the regional district has floated that will be up for discussion. I don't assume that we're going to come out of that meeting with any firm decisions or any voting. I'm not seeing this as something where you're going to see straw votes on things. I'm hoping what comes out of it is something that we can put together so that the stakeholders who will be meeting on March 25th, so that will be Christina Lake, Area D, the City of Grand Forks, and the City of Greenwood, will be looking at what has come out of this process of community input, which has been going on. I think out of this process, what we're going to come up with will be another draft that will then come back to this council for discussion. And so I expect that we'll be challenged with the issue of whether we provide any kind of cat program. I'm not sure what might be proposed on that. I think the dog owners would really rather see us concentrate on the dog issue rather than deviating into the cats. And if it seems like another meeting would be necessary to deal with the cats, then we'll do that. But whatever process happens, there's a chance here that this will come back so that we can put our stamp on it in the city, and with the understanding, as we discussed earlier this evening, it doesn't have to be the same as the regional district. We can have some variation in there for the city. So, Councillor?
Your Worship, on March 25th, is that an open meeting?
No, it's not.
Or is that a regional district?
It's a regional district meeting and I don't know, because I'm not sure we can have secret meetings about stuff. So, would you like to be sitting in on that if it's?
I would, if it's open.
Okay, and I'll check with that, because I know that Elaine has set it up so that all of us can sit down and basically take a look at some kind of synthesis of what's coming forward in feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to happen overnight, but
No,
it
but
will
it's
go
nice
on.
to see the whole process all the way
Right,
through.
and I'll find out about that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
The budgets, the regional district budgets, were pretty much wrapped up on everything except the arena. Not the arena, the aquatic center, sorry. The aquatic center budget, you know, at this point, because we have newfound authority, you can raise the ceiling by 25% every 5 years. And so we're at that stage where we are doing a ceiling rise, and there are some changes in that have not been agreed to by Area D Representative Rolly Russell. And so pending discussions amongst ourselves with the CAO and Rolly Russell, we need to get that put away pretty quickly here. It's not a major increase, but it gives the potential for us to move with demand. And what the direction has been from this council to me has been that you didn't want to see any further reductions in service. So that's the balancing that we're looking for here. So at the table, which is always kind of strange, you have two people that vote on it, Area D and the city, on that particular budget item. So you'll hear more back on that within the next few days. We're all under timelines.
So just on that, that won't be seen on the Grand Forks tax invoice that goes out. That will be seen as a regional district increase. So even though it may impact the citizens of Grand Forks, it'll be on the regional district taxation levy to DC. So if this goes ahead. So.
Right. And again, I don't see it as being an increase even for the regional district people, but it does open some possibilities for more flexibility in future. Councillor Kendel.
I'm just wondering if you could inform council and the public as to what the status is of the Area D representative, whether Irene Karpolkin is kind of just an update on how she's doing, and you mentioned Rolly Russell is in these discussions.
Rolling is acting for her as the second, and Irene is at home, and she's not at this point able to come back to her responsibilities, and we're waiting for further results or further information from her on the prognosis.
Thank you.
A couple of other things, as Councillor Kendel talked about the BEDC and the EDAC. Did I get it right? Yeah. Economic Development Action Committee, EDAC? Advisory, okay. This formal agreement between the groups to take information and bring it forward without having it transferred through a particular person, so it would come as a fairly formal, we want you to look at this, or we think this has regional potential. I think that's a step forward in coordinating what we do at both those tables, and so I compliment Councillor Kendel and Councillor Smith on the direction that we're going with the EDAC and the cooperation. The other last thing I wanted to say is that this is sort of by way of of rumor, but you might know more about it, Councillor Wyers, but apparently there's been some discussion that it would be a target to see if we could get the stagecoach as something that would represent the city in various events around the region. The challenge that would be that we need a team of horses to pull it. But I think there's been some discussion that it would be a wonderful representation of the city.
Your Worship, I think you meant Councillor Kendel.
What did I say?
Councillor Wyers.
No, but you were over at the Woodwork Association the other day, the woodworkers.
Yes, but I think the stagecoach belongs to the Boundary Museum Society.
But it was done by the woodworkers, so I thought they might have been discussing it, which is what I'm hearing from the guys who actually did the fixing it up of it.
Oh,
Well, if I can shed some light on that.
I know nothing of it.
Well, the discussion came up at the Boundary Museum meeting about, they have been looking at procuring some type of wagon to be able to transport the stagecoach to different events. They're working on that at the moment, and after a brief discussion with you, I actually brought up the possibility that the stagecoach, along with possibly representing the city and having the city in some way involved in an ongoing promotional thing for the city, the stagecoach would be the draw. The city could possibly participate with the museum in some way, and the museum is more than open to pursuing that. They think it's a good idea, and how that would eventually work out is something that we could certainly, the discussion's open on how that.
Sorry, are you accusing me of starting that rumor?
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
No, I did hear it from other people too.
Okay, well.
But yeah, it's a great resource we've got there, and you know, with our branding that's gone on, I mean, we could take a look at how we can look at it with that. But anyway, I'm thinking about a float going around. It's more exciting to see something like that as a reproduction of a real thing.
Yeah. Well, the fire department already does that. You know, in
Yeah.
other communities, if they're having a parade, they take a piece of equipment right there and
Yeah.
participate. So just having another one would be good.
Okay, and that sort of wraps up my report, and I included some regional district in it, so can I have a motion to accept?
Could I ask one question
Yes.
from that regional district, or the BEDC?
Mhm.
You mentioned a project, like they were talking about economic development or regional projects, and you mentioned the power sources for electric cars.
Yes, we did bring that up.
Yes, and you know,
Yeah.
it brought, I thought, where have I heard this before? And then I remembered our city employee, Wayne Copan,
Right.
last year
Oh, yeah, that's
had
right, yeah.
applied for a grant,
Yeah.
and I didn't ever hear the status of it.
We weren't successful.
Oh,
with
we
that.
weren't
that's right.
successful.
But there is a company out there called Sun Country that's trying to install these all over across BC, and I think we're one of the communities that they would be targeting. But one of the things we have to look at is where do we put something like that? And that's something that our manager of development and engineering services will be analyzing over the next year, is where we're going to be. What type of zoning does that take? What is that, a private enterprise? Is that something that's run by the city? We need to know a little bit more about that, but we need to get our zoning and our planning in order before we
Okay.
Well, it was interesting to know that they do have one in Osoyoos. So I'm going to go have a look at
Really,
it.
I didn't know they did, because,
Yeah, it was mentioned at the meeting. I took it in my notes.
really, because it was Councillor Krog who was pushing it as
Yeah.
well, wanting
Yeah.
to bring it there. Well, there's been interest, certainly, that old table is interest. So it's a good example of a regional project that we could cooperate on with the other communities we knew.
And Mr. Mayor, the one thing that we're finding too is we'd like to explore this a little bit more with our carbon neutrality, the money we put into dark woods. Maybe that's the money that we could be putting into our local region that would affect that. So we're trying to explore this, because we understand there's some provisions that we might be able to explore those types of things, rather than sending the money over to dark woods or to the Pacific Carbon Trust. They would put the money into our community, but we need to explore that a little bit more this year, and we plan on doing that.
Excellent.
Because Your Worship, the Darkwoods project is only for 1 year,
Yeah.
so we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not tied
Okay.
down to anything.
Motion to accept council reports and regional district reports. Councillor Smith, Councillor Wyers, all those in favor. What's behind me, Bob? Okay. We are down to recommendations for decisions. First item, and we have 2 or 3 items here of budget approval in terms of an early budget so that we can get these things done and not wait. So the first one is the diesel-powered chipper, and if we could have a motion for the early approval of that. Councillor Wyers, Councillor Smith. Discussion? It's springtime. All those in favor?
Probably needed it yesterday.
Probably. Downtown core beautification. I think that really was an excellent open house, and although we didn't have every business, we had a good sampling of downtown business, and people were honestly excited about it. You're making the motion?
Yep.
Councillor O'Doherty, second. Councillor Smith. Discussion further?
Looking forward to it.
I think it's going to be a real a positive lift for the community.
And it'll give the community a reason to rally behind.
Yeah, let's move.
Themselves as well, right?
Success is in our future. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the next one, similarly, is a utility vehicle for $27,000 from the reserve for purposes of the 2013 capital budget. Councillor Smith, Councillor Wyers, discussion.
That's the new UTV approach. It's a new type of equipment.
Yeah.
So a little more versatile than what the old vehicles we've had. Just wanted the public to be aware of that.
Anything further to be said on this? Hearing none, all those in favor. And the lease agreement for 555 Central Avenue, the circuit court facility, and the staff recommendation is to approve the lease agreement between the City of Grand Forks and the Ministry of Justice for a 5-year term commencing April 1, 2013, ending March 31st, 2017. Can I have that motion? Councillor O'Doherty, Councillor Smith. Discussion? Anybody interested? Yes, Councillor Wyers.
Your Worship, through you to the CAO, is it common for like small timeframes of 5 years with the provincial government?
Mr. Mayor, the situation of purchasing policy is we're able to do that, and because it's from one government to one government, we're recommending to sole source it to them. But typically, our agreements allow for 5 years, and they would like to just have it for 5 years as well. They didn't ask for anything longer, so it is difficult.
Yes, I was going to say it doesn't really give much of a commitment.
No, and we didn't really go after. We didn't go up to the public for this one. We sole sourced it to the court because we want them to be there. So.
Ready for the question? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item is the request to proceed with the purchase of new office furniture. The total of budget approval is $12,500, and this is from the reserves as proposed in the 2013 budget. Councillor O'Doherty. That's the motion. Councillor Smith, second. Discussion. You need the tools to do your job. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. No correspondence. We're down to the summary of information items. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve as we decide through this list? Councillor O'Doherty, second. Councillor Kendel. And moving through the list, the first is Councillor Smith's declaration under 107 of the Community Charter and relates to the pest control services. And what we're doing here basically is receiving the memorandum. And
Your Worship, do I need to remove myself or?
No.
is not going to be voting on it. When the vote does arise, then Councillor Smith would have to make a declaration.
Right, this is just submitting the information.
Okay.
So you can declaration a little later here. Sorry, got your.
When we get to the vote.
Okay. And the Climate Action Review Incentive report to receive the incentive report is presented by staff. Reading it over, there's hardly anything we're not trying to do to save carbon credits. Pretty exhaustive report. Resolutions, UBCM resolutions for 2012 received for information, and the financial report from the Grand Forks Public Library received for information. That's it. All those in favor of the
So now, Mr. Councillor Smith.
okay, I wasn't
can
sure
declare-
what you were.
Mr. Councillor Smith can declare a conflict because he won't vote on this. this
I
year.
see.
So-
Okay, because we're voting on the whole package with this including, and so if you wish to,
Yeah, I declare that a possible conflict of interest with this year.
okay.
So we'll bring you back in once.
Okay.
So,
Okay, all those in favor of, and we have it on the table already.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Smith?
He's coming.
Who's going?
That's all. Okay. Okay, Bylaw.
Okay. Down to bylaws.
Yep.
Okay, so bylaw number 1948, City of Grand Forks 2013-2017 financial plan bylaw. We're asking for first, second, and third reading to this bylaw this
I'll
evening.
move the first reading, Your Worship.
And the seconder for that, Councillor Kendel. All those in favor, first reading. Second reading, Councillor Wyers, Councillor Kendel. All those in favor of second reading, thank you. And third reading, bylaw number 1948, Councillor Kendel, Councillor Smith. All those in favor, third reading. The next item of business is the bylaw number 1949, the Roxul road closure final reading. Can I have a motion for 1949 Roxul road closure final reading? Councillor O'Doherty, Councillor Smith. Any discussion? All those in favor? And the late item that we have is be it resolved that council convene an in-camera meeting as outlined under section 90 to discuss matters related to labor, and that this meeting would take place on May the 25th at 9 a.m. in the morning. March, what did I say? May? March 25th, 9 a.m. Councillor Smith, Councillor O'Doherty. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that concludes our discussions this evening. We're open to the public and media for comments or questions. No one jumping up here. Okay, motion to adjourn. So moved, Councillor